Think about the project, the product, the client, or the hire that you already know right now is not working. You already know it. You knew it months ago. Why is it still alive? The answer is in a sentence you are going to hear 3 times today because it is the axis of everything. Quitting on time almost always feels like quitting too early. And because it feels too early, you don't do it. You wait until the signal is unmistakable. And when the signal is unmistakable, you no longer quit on time. You quit late, and you paid the difference. The book is Quit by Annie Duke, published by Portfolio in October 2022. Duke was a professional poker player. She won a World Series bracelet. And before that, she had a research fellowship in cognitive psychology at the University of Pennsylvania. That double background matters because poker is the only profession where quitting is a technical skill that is trained, measured, and paid. In business, by contrast, quitting is treated as a character flaw. And that is the cultural trap which Duke dismantles with a precision you should steal for your next committee meeting. The effort argument says, everyone who succeeded persisted. That is true. And it is a tautology. By definition, whoever reached the end did not quit. But the inverse does not follow. The fact that persistence is a necessary condition for success does not make it a sufficient condition. Persisting in the wrong thing does not move you closer to success. It moves you farther away. Because every quarter you keep something alive that does not work is a quarter of people, money, and attention that is not going into what would work. This video is not a summary of the book, and it is not a video about quitting in the abstract. It is a decision system for operators who approve initiatives and have to kill them. 3 concrete decisions. First, the honesty warnings, because we keep them in every video. We verified the book's figures one by one, and there are 3 we corrected. The glitch retention figure the book cites with decimals has no external source. You are not going to hear it here. The exact amount of money in the bank when the company shut down is not the book's number. It is the number Butterfield himself gave in a signed interview. And that is the one I use. And a Google X case the book attributes to the Hyperloop is not publicly documented anywhere. So I replaced it with 2 projects X did kill, and that are in the press. When something appears only in the book, I will tell you. Let's go. Playbook number 1. The monkey first. Imagine you want to put on a street show, a monkey juggling flaming torches while standing on a pedestal. If you pull it off, you have a business. The task has 2 parts, train the monkey and build the pedestal. Now tell me where your team starts. Always with the pedestal. Because the pedestal can be finished. Pedestals have been built since ancient Greece. You can buy one or turn a box upside down. It is quick, visible. You can show it in Monday's meeting and it feels like progress. Training the monkey, by contrast, may be impossible, and finding out that it is impossible feels like failure. This mental model comes from Eric Astroteller, who runs X, Alphabet's moonshot factory, with the title Captain of Moonshots. He has a PhD in artificial intelligence from Carnegie Mellon, and X was founded in 2010. The rule in his formulation is brutally simple. There is no point building the pedestal if you cannot train the monkey. Attack the hardest part first, the part that can kill the entire project. Inside X, that idea is so deeply internalized that presentations carry the label, the monkey first. And here is the part an operator really has to understand, because it explains why so many zombie initiatives keep consuming your budget. Building pedestals is not just wasting time, it creates the illusion of progress instead of progress. When you do something you already knew how to do, you learn nothing about whether the bet is worth pursuing. And worse, while you are building pedestals, you are accumulating sunk costs. Money spent, months invested, promises made to the board that will later make quitting much harder. Duke describes it as a very specific human tendency. When we hit a monkey that refuses to be trained, instead of stopping, we turn around and build another pedestal. We prefer the illusion of movement to admitting defeat. What X actually killed is documented and instructive. An automated vertical farming project canceled when they found they could not grow the staple crops that would have justified the effort. And a variable buoyancy cargo airship canceled when they calculated that simply designing and building the first prototype would cost close to $200 million. Neither one died because of a lack of talent. They died because someone looked at the monkey before spending on the pedestal. And now the mechanism a COO can copy tomorrow. In Teller's own words, "We have paid a bonus to every person on teams that killed their own projects, from teams of 2 people to teams of more than 30. Read that again. At X, killing your own project is a compensated event, not an honorable exit. a compensated event. Because if the only path to reward is for your project to survive, your smart and ambitious people will keep dead projects alive. And they will do it well, which is the worst part. Your common mistake, starting every initiative with what can be completed, the brand, the website, the rollout plan, the hiring, and leaving the question that decides everything for later. Your practical action, on your most important initiative, write in one line what the monkey is, the unknown that, if it goes badly, makes everything else irrelevant, and reorder the next 2 weeks around attacking it. Playbook number 2, the kill criteria. You know what the monkey is. The second decision is when you are going to stop. And the time to decide that is now, not when the moment arrives. The reason is psychological, and it has been measured. When you are losing, your ability to make good decisions degrades precisely in the wrong direction. Sunk cost appears, escalation of commitment appears. The need to recover what you have already invested appears. The person who will evaluate the project 6 months from now is not you. It is a version of you with 6 more months of identity, public promises, and buried money. That person is not going to kill anything. That is why the book proposes what it calls kill criteria. A list, written today, of signals that will take you off the path if they appear in the future. Duke defines it with a sentence that captures the entire mechanism. Kill criteria. Create a pre-commitment contract to quit. The question that generates them is concrete. What could I learn in the future about the world or about myself that would change my commitment to this decision? And they have a specific form that makes them work. State and date. Not, if this doesn't take off, we'll review it. Instead, if by June 30th we do not have 20 paying customers with 90-day retention, we shut it down. State, what has to be true, and date, when it gets measured. Without both halves, a kill criterion is an intention, and intentions do not survive the moment when you actually have to use them. The pocket version, and this is the one you should paste onto every quarterly objective in your company, is the most operational rule in the book. Every goal needs at least one unless. I am going to pursue this account unless I cannot get an executive into the room. I am going to keep developing this product unless it does not hit these indicators within 2 months. Notice what that unless does. It turns a rigid goal, which in a changing world is a fixed object, into a decision that can be revisited without anyone looking like a coward. And here is the case. November 2012. Stewart Butterfield had spent 4 years at TinySpec building a video game called Glitch, funded with more than $17 million from investors such as Axel and Andreessen Horowitz. The people who loved the game truly loved it. The problem was that almost no one reached that state. Butterfield decided to shut it down. His words in a later interview, "We stopped with $5 million in the bank, and the investors did not want me to give it back." The game shut down permanently on December 9, 2012. The internal messaging tool the team had built to work on that game became Slack, launched in August 2013. On June 20, 2019, Slack went public through a direct listing and closed its first day valued at $19.5 billion. On December 1, 2020, Salesforce announced its acquisition for about $27.7 billion. The counterexample, told by the person himself. Andrew Wilkinson spent more than 12 years and $10 million on Flow, his task manager, competing against Asana, which in July 2012 had raised $28 million at a valuation of $280 million. He got to the point of burning $150,000 a month. His public summary in 2021, "Our marketing is better, our product is better, our features are better, our support is better, our integrations are better." They won. We lost. 12 years to arrive at that sentence. Common mistake, setting the criteria when the time comes. Practical action. For your biggest initiative, write 2 unless conditions today, each with a state and a date, and bring them to the next management meeting. And if you lead a team, add the piece that closes the system. Make following kill criteria well count in the evaluation, just as closing successfully counts. You give your most stubborn people another way to win. Playbook number 3. The trigger is not yours. You have identified the monkey and written the criteria. One uncomfortable question remains. Who pulls the trigger? And the book's answer is that it cannot be you alone, for a reason that has nothing to do with your intelligence. What is hardest to quit is not the money, it is who you are. When you have spent 2 years publicly defending an initiative, that initiative stopped being a bet and became part of your professional identity. Killing it no longer means changing your mind. It means admitting you were wrong in front of the people who watched you promise it. Add 2 measured biases to that. We value what we already own more simply because we own it, and we prefer the status quo even when the numbers say otherwise. And this is not an amateur flaw. There is a classic study that measures it in one of the most professional, most measured, and most ruthless organizations in the world, the NBA. Barry Storr and Ha Huang published in Administrative Science Quarterly in 1995 an analysis of players selected in the first 2 rounds of the drafts from 1980 to 1986. Controlling for on-court performance, injuries, trades, and player position, they found that draft order still predicted how many minutes a player got and how many years he lasted in the league. Translation: teams with exhaustive data, cameras in every corner, and millions at stake were still protecting their previous decision. If that happens in the NBA, imagine it in your committee, where project performance is measured by the same person who proposed the project. The solution in the book is structural, not motivational. You need someone whose explicit job is to tell you to stop. Duke calls that person a quitting coach, and there are 3 rules for making it work. First, choose them in advance, before you are in the losses. Second, give them explicit permission, and that permission includes committing yourself to hearing things you do not want to hear, because the reason your friends and your team later tell you they already saw it coming is always the same. They did not want to hurt you. Being nice to you and being good for you are not the same thing. And third, the most powerful one for a company. Whenever possible, that role carries authority. You separate the person sustaining the project from the person who can stop it. The one evaluating the criterion is not the one who has to meet it. Duke says in the book that even Daniel Kahneman had someone like that in Richard Thaler. I am giving it to you for what it is. A story from the book that we could not verify in any public statement from either of them. And here are 2 companies that made the same decision in opposite directions. Sears in the early 1990s had a spectacular financial business inside it. Allstate, Dean Witter, Discover, Coldwell Banker. It also had a declining retail business. In 1992, it announced that it was separating the financial business to return to its retail roots. Allstate went public in June 1993, raising $2.4 billion, the largest U.S. initial public offering up to that point. Dean Witter and Discover were spun off that same year. Coldwell Banker was sold for $230 million. Sears kept the store. In October 2018, it filed for bankruptcy. Today, Allstate is worth more than $64 billion on the stock market, and Morgan Stanley, the successor to Dean Witter, more than $330 billion. Sears is no longer listed. It sold what was growing to save what was dying, because what was dying was its identity. Philips did the opposite. Founded in 1891, it had been synonymous with lighting for more than a century. It took 25% of its lighting division public in May 2016, and in September 2019 sold the shares it still held. It killed the business that gave it its name. Today it defines itself as a health technology company and closed 2025 with sales of €17.8 billion. Common mistake. Asking for advice from people who love you and do not want to hurt you. Practical action. Name your quitting coach this week in writing and give them explicit permission over one specific initiative. Let's close the system, because the 3 playbooks are one sequence. The monkey first decides where you begin. You attack the unknown that can kill the project instead of building pedestals that feel like progress and only accumulate sunk costs. The kill criteria decide when you stop. Written today, with a state and a date, with at least one unless per objective, and with your team's evaluation aligned so that quitting well also counts as winning. And the trigger decides who stops. Someone named in advance with explicit permission and, whenever possible, authority. Because your identity is exactly what prevents you from seeing your own project clearly. The honest warnings. First, on the numbers. We corrected 3 from the book, and I told you at the beginning. Butterfield's game retention statistics have no external source, and I did not use them. The cash in the bank at shutdown is the amount he himself stated, not the book's figure. And the Google X Hyperloop case is undocumented, so I used 2 projects X did kill that are covered in the press. Second, the NBA study is solid in design and finding, but the replication literature notes that the original paper did not publish standard errors, so treat it as strong directional evidence, not as a measurement of surgical precision. And third, the most important one for you, this is a book about when to stop, written by someone whose profession was stopping. It is not a license to quit when something gets hard. The exact thesis is more refined than that. Persistence is valuable. Persisting in what you already know does not work is what is costing you money. The skill is not quitting, it is distinguishing. Your immediate action, tomorrow, on the biggest initiative you currently have alive. 1. Write in a single line what the monkey is. The unknown that, if it goes badly, invalidates everything else. And honestly check whether you are attacking it or circling around it. 2. Write 2 unless conditions with a state and a date, and bring them to the next management meeting so they are said in front of witnesses. 3. Name the person who can tell you to stop, give them permission in writing, and tell them exactly which project it applies to. And stop doing 3 things: measuring progress by completed pedestals, leaving the decision to stop until you are already in the losses, and asking only people who do not want to hurt you for their opinion. The sign that you already have the system is simple. You can name, right now and without thinking, the exact condition that would make you shut down your favorite project. If you cannot, that project has no designed exit, and you are going to keep it alive until someone forces you to stop. And the question for the comments, because I want to hear from real operators. What do you have alive today that you already know is not going to work, and what exactly is stopping you from killing it? The money invested, the people defending it, or what people would say about you? Tell me below. On this channel, we turn business books into executable systems. If you decide what stays alive and what does not, stay close.